Guys, have you ever watched a movie so many times that you already know exactly what's going to happen, but you still sit down and watch it again anyway? You know every scene, you know every joke, you know every plot twist. You could probably recite half the dialogue from memory, and yet somehow, every time you see it, it still feels special. I've always thought that's a strange thing, because if someone told you the ending of a mystery movie before you watched it, you'd probably be annoyed. If someone spoiled a game before you played it, you'd probably be disappointed. But with your favorite movie, you already know everything, and somehow that's exactly why you love it. I started thinking about this one rainy afternoon. The kind of afternoon where the sky is gray, the house feels quieter than usual, and there's not much happening anywhere. Outside, rain tapped against the windows. Inside, I was doing what most people do when they're bored. Walking around the house for no reason, looking in the refrigerator even though I wasn't hungry, checking my phone every 5 minutes as if something exciting had suddenly appeared. Nothing. Eventually, I gave up and sat on the couch. The TV remote was sitting there, the television was off, and suddenly I remembered a movie. Not a new movie, not something trending, not something everyone was talking about, just an old favorite. A movie I had watched so many times that I could probably predict every scene down to the second. I smiled. Then I started laughing because I already knew what was about to happen. The exact same thing that happened every single time. I'd tell myself I was only going to watch a few minutes. Then somehow I'd end up watching the entire movie, every single time. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, the movie was playing, and immediately something strange happened. The room felt different. Not because the movie was magical, but because of what it reminded me of. Guys, have you ever noticed that your favorite movies are often connected to memories? Sometimes you don't love the movie only because it's good. Sometimes you love it because of where you were when you first watched it, who you watched it with, what life felt like back then. The movie became a time machine. As the opening scenes played, I suddenly remembered being younger. I remembered sitting on the floor instead of the couch because somehow the floor felt more comfortable. I remembered arguing with my cousins about which character was the best. I remembered laughing at scenes that probably weren't even supposed to be funny. And the funny thing was that every memory came back instantly, like they had been waiting for that movie to start. The movie continued. I already knew the jokes, yet somehow I still laughed. Not because the jokes were new, but because they felt familiar, like meeting an old friend. That's the best way I can describe a favorite movie. It feels less like entertainment and more like visiting someone you've known for years. You already know what they're going to say. You already know their stories, but spending time with them still makes you happy. About halfway through the movie, another funny thing happened. I started noticing details I had somehow missed before. Guys, how does that even happen? You watch the same movie 10 times, then on the 11th watch, suddenly you notice a tiny joke hiding in the background, or a small detail that makes a scene make more sense, or a character expression you've never paid attention to before. It's like the movie keeps giving you little surprises, even years later. That afternoon reminded me of something else too. Movies aren't just stories, they're experiences. Think about it. Everyone remembers watching a favorite movie with someone, a friend, a sibling, a cousin, parents, maybe even classmates. Sometimes the memories around the movie become just as important as the movie itself. I remembered one particular movie night years ago. The power had gone out earlier that evening. Everyone thought the movie night was ruined. The lights were off, the weather wasn't great, nothing was going according to plan. Then the electricity came back. The television turned on, and suddenly everyone cheered like we'd just won a championship.
Guys, looking back, that reaction was completely dramatic, but at the time, it felt like the greatest comeback in history. We watched the movie together, the room was crowded, people were talking during scenes, someone kept asking questions that had literally just been answered, someone else kept predicting things incorrectly, and somehow it was perfect. Years later, I don't remember every scene from that night, but I remember how fun it felt. That's the power of stories. They connect themselves to moments in our lives. As the movie played on, I found myself smiling at scenes that weren't even funny, scenes that simply felt familiar, comfortable, safe, like returning to a place you visited 100 times before. And that's when I realized something. A favorite movie doesn't stay your favorite because it's perfect. It stays your favorite because it grows alongside you. When you're younger, you notice one thing. When When you're older, you notice another. A character you thought was boring suddenly becomes interesting. A lesson you completely ignored suddenly makes sense. A scene you skipped suddenly becomes your favorite part. The movie stays the same, but you change. And because you change, the movie feels different every time. That's probably why some movies never leave us. They're not frozen in time, they're connected to our memories, connected to different versions of ourselves. The kid who watched it for the first time, the teenager who watched it again years later, the future version of you who will probably watch it again someday. All of them are connected by that same story. By the time the credits started rolling, the rain outside had almost stopped. The room was quieter again. The movie was over, at least technically. Because the funny thing about favorite movies is that they're never really over. You'll quote them later, you'll remember scenes randomly, you'll recommend them to friends, you'll hear a piece of music from the soundtrack and instantly think about them again. And eventually, months or years later, you'll sit down and watch them one more time. Even though you already know every scene, even though you already know every joke, even though you already know exactly how the story ends. Because somehow, knowing the ending isn't the point. The feeling is. And every time I think about that rainy afternoon, I remember the question that started it all. Guys, have you ever watched a movie so many times that you already know exactly what's going to happen, but you still sit down and watch it again anyway?